All right, guys, we're ready for our Four Seasons sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh no, we'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh no, wait, a family hub.
Yeah!
No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.
Wake up, America. I think I got something to say to you. I love the United States of America, and I want you to love the United States of America too. Wake Up America Radio with Dr. A and Lou Bell is not a safe space, so enter at your own risk. You will be exposed to the truth, and we will endure the consequences. Now, rest assured, Dr. A will not try to put his brain into your head. I will, however, motivate you to think and to use the analytical part of your brain that very few people want to use because it requires actual effort and actual work. Hey, howdy doody, everybody, for Wake Up America Radio. And of course, I think I got something to say to you. You heard that just before you heard Rod Stewart belting out Maggie May. I'm not going to try to put my brain in your head. I will motivate you to think and to use the analytical part of your brain that very few people want to use. Why? Because it requires that you expend some effort and actual work. And as usual, Lou Esposito is on the line with me. She is, as you know, my producer, my sidekick, and I've given her the honorary tactical call sign that all naval aviators have tactical call signs as Wench, because she doesn't take crap from anybody. Are you there, Wench?
I am here.
I'm so happy to be here, and we're going to continue our radio broadcast that we started, I think, about 2 weeks ago on how to analyze presidential performance and leadership of those occupants in the White House, which can also transcend into how do we look at people when they're running for the primary during that season, who has the skills to be president and who doesn't.
It should translate, yeah, absolutely. It's a mystery, though. It's an enigma to so many people.
This is going to be maybe another two-parter to continue this, but I don't know. I'll see if I can get it done in one. But there's a lot of news that has happened this last week, and hopefully we can get to that. Maybe we can split it up and then at the end get to some of this news, because some of this stuff that's happened is huge.
Don't rush it.
Just huge.
Don't rush it. We got plenty of time.
Okay, all right.
We've got now to eternity to do radio.
Well, hopefully, do we have 3 listeners now or still 2? I can't remember.
Oh, we have a lot more than that. Shout out to Philly.
Dude, Philly is a great market. I think we've got a lot of listeners there, on that conservative Commandos radio network that Rick Trader, bless his heart, has put together, and we're so honored to be part of that, as well as Rick Robinson, K98 Talk, and all the people that are flocking to him and his radio stuff as well, K98 FM and AM. You know what, Lou? We're talking about analyzing presidential performance and leadership, and I got to tell you that too much of the scholarly work dealing with the American president is directed toward the ends that our chief executive sought, rather than the means he, and maybe one day, she used to advance them. In other words, a large portion of the body of scholarly work that scrutinizes our American president analyzes the merits of the president's public policies, rather than the attributes that shaped his leadership while in office. Now, of course, there are 2 notable exceptions to this trend. They are Richard Neustadt's book, Presidential Power. And by the way, I want you to, if you get a chance, go to the library, or you can buy these books very cheap now. Go out and read these and find out what these firsthand accounts are talking about when we discuss leadership in the presidency. But so you got Richard Neustadt's Presidential Power and the Modern President. We also have a book by James David Barber called The Politics of Leadership, okay, and Presidential Character. Those are very important. And then he talks about predicting performance in the White House. So James David Barber and Richard Neustadt, go look at those and see if we are going down the right track or not. I'm going to tell you, the last 7.5 years, we have not been going down the right track. As Rick Robinson would say, America's off the tracks, and we need to get back on.
Off the Rails is actually the brand of his show, if that's what you were trying to.
Are you trying to correct me? I mean, you relish in doing that.
I'm not trying. I actually did correct you.
Off the Rails. Okay. I was on that show once, I remember. He's a good interviewer.
Yeah, he is.
Richard Neustadt's interest is with the president's ability, or lack thereof, to win the support of other elite policymakers inside the Beltway by revealing himself to be politically skilled and to possess the requisite amount of support from the general public, the masses, those unwashed masses. James David Barber's preoccupation is in distinguishing presidents whose emotional insecurities, if you will, spill over into their official actions in the White House from those who are more secure, how should I put this, in their psychic moorings, and thereby free to channel their energies into productive leadership, which is really important in the White House. The merit, if you will, of Neustadt's emphasis on political skill is made evident by the many difficulties encountered by one of Lou Esposito's favorite presidents, Jimmy Carter, whose policy aspirations were thwarted by his failure to adhere to the norms, if you will, of Washington politics inside the political arena. The value of Barber's attention to the presidential psyche is best illustrated probably by Richard Nixon, whose many character flaws led to actions that made it necessary for him, as we know, to resign from the presidency, the only president to do so. But here's what Dr. A's argument is. A president's effectiveness is a function of more than his political prowess and mental health. I argue that a focus on leadership qualities may be more productive in our attempt to analyze presidential performance in office and to analyze or judge people running for that office prior to them actually becoming the president or us giving them our vote during the primary. That being the case, I've developed this model that utilizes 6 qualities that relate directly, Lou, to presidential job performance. The first, which pertains sort of to the outer face of leadership, is the president's proficiency as a public communicator. The guy that we have right now, that Islamophobe in the White House, for about 50% of the public, is an extremely qualified, extremely talented public communicator, although what he's communicating is the exact opposite message from the Founding Fathers' principles that this country was founded upon. You agree with that, Lou?
Yeah, of course I do. I don't disagree with you that often.
Why you did on this? You know what, ladies and gentlemen, offline, she was disagreeing with me vehemently last night, and just like driving a spike right through my left kidney.
What? I told you that you weren't the only one that said that we're at war with Islam.
I
You're
did.
not the
rest
only
of them
person
saying
saying
we're at
that,
war
Doc.
with radical Islam.
But it's not just radical Islam. It's the entire ideology of Islam.
That's what I've been saying. Who else has said that?
Well,
I
me
don't
for
think
one.
You can name one person. Well, yes, you. When I say me, I'm talking about you and me together.
Well,
we're a team.
I spend my time in different corners of Twitter than you do, and I see a lot of people saying it. But not everyone is saying it. Not everybody recognizes it. And drawing here's the thing, and here's the key. And I don't mean to get us off track, but here's the key. I'm just going to do this real quick. The some people embrace Islam as a religion. They see it in a religion. It's all about the intent of the user. Just like everything else, you can use anything for good or for evil. A computer, a phone, anything. People who use Islam for good see it as a religion, take whatever is in it that is good and use it for good. And this is in the Bible, actually. Those people have a religion with Islam, and it is a religion to them. Those people are few and far between. Anyone else who embraces the teaching, which in the Quran, which is purely ideological and political, those people who go down that path and are brainwashed by it, that's ideological Islam, and that's the difference. And it doesn't have to be radical. That doesn't mean that it's radical. It's a straight, no one has interpreted it in a radical way. They're taking it straight from the text, and that's the difference. So sorry to sidetrack you, but now you can go. You brought it
up.
Not
sidetrack. I mean, everything you said is exactly right. You know what I say? Dr. A says that Islam is a brutal, totalitarian ideology of total control over behavior and thought, masquerading as religion. They have mind raped billions of people into believing this satanic ideology. It is almost no different than Marxist communist ideology. It's the same thing. We, as the people that run this at the top, the elites of Marxist communism or Islam, we are the ones that know best, and we are the masters, you are the slaves, and that's the way they want it. It's a globalist ideology. They want to control everything. The means of control is a little bit different, but it's almost identical. And I got to tell you something, Mrs. Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Hussein Obama, they are globalists who want to control everything and get rid of individual sovereignty and individual nation-state sovereignty. You know what, folks? What happened in Britain with this Brexit vote is huge. You need to realize this. It is going to reverberate all over this nation, all over this world. It is huge. If you don't believe that, you better reassess your evaluation of that, because it's huge. You cannot. God himself did this at the Tower of Babel. He stood us all up. You got to have individual sovereignty and nation-state sovereignty. Nationalism, however you want to put that. Now, I'm not talking about Nazi nationalism, or it goes too far. I don't mind people coming to this country legally, Lou. I understand why they come here illegally. I do. But I think we should encourage people to come here legally and then quickly assimilate to become Americans. You cannot have multiculturalism in your country. It never works. It is a recipe, a prescription for ultimate inevitable failure. You have to quickly assimilate and become American. Live in North Carolina, live in Georgia, live wherever you want to live, become an American. If you don't do that, the same thing that happened to the Soviet Union will happen to this nation. Nationalism and this multiculturalism will destroy us. The very soft underbelly of the United States of America will rip wide open, and through that fissure goes our country and our founding principles. That's something that we're standing on the precipice of that right now, people. Trust Dr. A on this one subject.
Yeah.
We are close to dissolution. And I, as a patriot, a conservative, true, real American patriot who values what we were given by those brilliant yet flawed men, the founding fathers, I will stand up and fight for those principles and keep this nation going till the last breath leaves my body. And I think Lou and a lot of the other people, Slickery Trigger and his beautiful wife, Tina Dillingham, they will do that as well. And so will Stacy and JD and Rick Trader and Rick Robinson. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. But here's my question, and you're you're the political scientist, which means that you have a really good grasp on the history of politics and political movements in our country. So this is not the first time we've been on the precipice of that, do you think?
No, of course not.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
so we've recovered before. And I'm just trying to
presidency?
instill some hope in the audience. We've recovered from being on this precipice before, and we can do it again.
If I still, my contacts high up in the law enforcement circles of the federal government still are assuring me that Mrs. Clinton is going to be indicted and taken to trial, and she's committed like 178 different felonies against the Espionage Act. And the bigger, we just found out that her State Department took away all the security features for a time being on her private server, which is like an open mat to all these knuckleheads out there that know how to, get into different people's by hacking. I mean, your friends at Anon probably can hack her like that, and so does some of these other people around the world. The guy from Bulgaria, or I can't think of his name, but he's And so,
there are definitely some U.S. based hackers that could have hacked her, but they didn't.
Now, I think that's the biggest, most egregious thing that she's done. She is a heinous traitor. She has committed many acts of treason. Other people think that what she's done with the Clinton, the little foundation that her and Uncle Bill have, is worse because she took money from all these countries in exchange for political favors. Okay, and that's heinous too. But when you jeopardize national security because you don't care about national security, all you care about is yourself and power and money, you need to be brought up on those charges and the fullest extent of the law and justice thrown your way. Whatever that ends up being, I'm not going to comment on that, but that's something that has to happen to Mrs. Clinton. Because and your buddy in the White House, Islam al-Qamis, he's done the same thing. He has done the same thing as Mrs. Clinton. You just don't hear about it because he is in a position to thwart all these people from releasing it, and he's got the media, mainstream media, in his pocket. And you're going to find out when this guy leaves office all the heinous things that he has done, and you're going to be appalled, people. Just trust Dr. Ray. So do we need to take a break, or we can continue with analyzing the presidency, or what do you want to do?
It's a pretty good time to take a break. You can come back and you'll have plenty of time to do it before we go into our last break and go to the news. So
okay,
we'll be right back. Music for Wake Up America Radio is provided by Tennessee Jed, whose new CD, Stronger, is available on iTunes.
I looked all over, so how can it be? Here comes the wrecking ball, swinging at me.
K98 Talk is continuing to expand its lineup. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org.
They know I mean well and smiling as hell if they try. They open their mouths, only hatred spews out with their
Hey, welcome back to Wake Up America Radio, ladies and gentlemen. And we are talking about how to analyze presidential leadership and performance in office. And when you do that type of an exercise, you can also be better equipped to make a good decision about who you're going to support for the presidency during the campaigns and the primary. So I've created this model that utilizes 6 qualities that relate directly to presidential job performance. And we talked about it earlier in the first segment. The first, which pertains to the outer face of leadership, is the president's proficiency as a public communicator. Now, Lou, for an office that places so great a premium on the so-called presidential pulpit, the modern presidency has been surprisingly lacking in effective public communicators. Most presidents have not addressed the public with anything approximating the professionalism of countless educators in this country, members of the clergy, and radio and TV broadcasters that we're so honored to be a part of in a small way. The second, which relates to the inner workings of the presidency, is the president's organizational capacity, meaning his ability to rally his colleagues and to structure their activities effectively. A chief executive's capacity as an organizer, and by the way, we have a community organizer in the White House right now, which is nothing more than a rabble rouser. But a president's capacity as an organizer includes his ability to forge a team and to get the most out of that team, and in the process minimizing the tendency of subordinates to tell their bosses what they sense that he wants to hear from them. It also includes a quite different matter, his proficiency, if you will, at creating effective institutional arrangements. Presidents also differ in their ability to avail themselves of a rich and varied fare of advice and information. Ted Sorensen, who was a Kennedy aide, in fact, I believe Ted Sorensen actually wrote Profiles in Courage, for which John Kennedy received all these accolades. He didn't really write it. I think Ted Sorensen wrote it. But Ted Sorensen has argued that the best way for a president to make a wise decision, no matter what the policy, is, and I'm quoting Ted Sorensen, gather together all of the responsible policymakers with their different viewpoints in front of you, together in front of you, and then listen to them debate back and forth with one another. I do not believe in bringing them in one at a time and therefore being more impressed by the most recent advisor or the most recent one you hear from those earlier ones. You must get courageous men, and I'm going to add this to his quote, and women. You must get courageous men and women with strong views, strong, educated, intellectual views, and let them debate with each other in front of you. What we want to do here, I'm not quoting anymore from Ted Sorensen, but we want to avoid becoming victims of groupthink that Irving Janis wrote a great book about. The book was called Victims of Groupthink. That's the message here. Don't become a victim of groupthink. Now, those of you who don't know what groupthink is the psychological phenomenon where people get together with a high-ranking individual. They feel beholden to that high-ranking individual for their very jobs and position. And what they do is they just become yes men, yes sir, no, yes ma'am, yes, yes, yes. And that's all they do.
Yeah, and that's one manifestation of it. You can do it when there's not really like that high-ranking individual in the group too. I mean, a group can groupthink, but the one that you just described has been and I know that you'll agree with this, at the root of some of the worst decisions that have ever been made in the history of politics or geopolitics, especially.
Exactly. I mean, LBJ's Tuesday for Lunch bunch, getting together on Tuesday, having lunch at the Commerce Building. Yeah. And deciding what the targets were going to be next week in the Vietnam War. What a bunch of knuckleheads those guys were.
The Bay of Pigs was a groupthink. The result of groupthink. Yeah.
And if we get to it today, or maybe next week, I'm going to tell you how JFK, through use of some of these presidential skills in this model I've created, got out of that Bay of Pigs dilemma and successfully moved forward. And his political capital took a hit there, but then he regained some of it by some of the things he did later on. But this capacity, so to speak, to design effective institutional arrangements has been in even scarcer supply than effective public communication in our modern presidency. Now, the third and fourth variables of this model bear on the president as a political operator, if you will. And what I've got here is, his political skill and the extent to which that is harnessed to a vision of public policy. Vision is really important. The classic statement of the centrality of political skill to presidential performance, And I go back to Richard Neustadt, his book, Presidential Power and the Modern Presidents, which has been described by many so-called scholars as the closest approximation, Lou, to Machiavelli's writings in the literature of American politics. Now, I talk about Machiavelli all the time. I say Machiavelli changed morality for politicians. He lowered morality for politicians. He changed it. Hopefully we can, as we go through life, keep our moral values high. But he's given the politicians a pass, and he says you can lower your morality to expand and protect and defend your political power. And all these politicians know what Machiavelli taught in The Prince, and they take it to heart. You know, a great example of that is Obama, is Mrs. Clinton. That knucklehead Alan Grayson down there who's running for Marco Rubio's seat in Florida. I can't think of yes, I can think of a guy that's a bigger idiot than him, and that would be the current DNC chair, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
She is a dum-dum, isn't she?
She is, I don't know if she's just totally ignorant, been mind raped, or if she knows she's saying things that are just completely wrong, but she knows there are enough people out there that believe her crap that will keep her effectively in her seat there in whatever district she's in Florida.
Yeah, it's total. It's brainwashing, and it's when you fill your head with talking points, and that's all you can ever think or say, the independent thought goes out of your mind. You're not using your brain at all. It's like, your brain gets soft, and her brain is. She may have been smart at one point. I'm sure she probably was, or she wouldn't be where she is. But now her brain is soft because there's nothing but talking points in it.
Okay, folks, this is going to be not a first, but maybe a second. I'm going to correct the wench. No, you're wrong. She has not been brainwashed. She has been mind raped. Somebody, somewhere in her life, has taken her brain against her will. It might have been a professor. You know what? A professor doesn't have to physically touch a student to mind rape them. And that's what's happened. That's what's happening all over this country, basically all over the world in these institutions of higher learning. We did a whole 2 shows on, I think 3 shows on
and
that.
That's fine.
Cultural Marxism.
It's fine that you want to use that word, that term, but that doesn't mean that I have to use it. I've never known anyone to be brainwashed willingly, at least in the beginning. Yeah. So it's the same thing.
Okay. All right. I do have some people on Twitter, bless their hearts, mostly ladies, who I love. With agape type love that reach out to me and say, Randy, that term is pretty offensive. And I said, yes, ma'am, that's exactly what I want. I want it to be offensive to you. And I understand why they reach out to me and, ask me to tone it down or just express their aversion to it. But that's exactly the reaction I want out of those people. They have been mind raped. Their brains have been stolen from them without their first of all, without their knowledge and without giving their consent. That's why I use that term, mind raped.
Yeah, I understand why you use it, but you have to understand that some people have an aversion to it for a reason.
Okay. You know what, Lou? The question that Neustadt addresses in his book on how to analyze our president is how the chief executive can put his stamp, if you will, on public policy in the readily stalemated American political system. It was designed that way by the founding fathers. It was designed to be sort of stalemated so that we wouldn't have the emotions of the moment driving public policy, both foreign and domestic, in the wrong direction temporarily and maybe have this country come to a quick end. We are supposed to have a stalemate and in Congress and in the arena of public policy, which is us out here in the masses, to actually debate this stuff and come to a better decision because we do take the time to debate it and put our stamp, if you will, on what's happening in public policy. I don't get everything I want. Miss Stacey doesn't get everything she wants. Obama doesn't get everything that he wants. We come together in this arena intellectually and with the right heart and spirit. And then we send our country maybe in a direction that we didn't think it was going to go, but we keep the longevity. We retain our individual freedom and our national sovereignty and the longevity of our nation going in perpetuity. If we go in the wrong direction for too long, like we have been, people, trust me on this one subject, for the last 7.5 years, we bring our nation to the precipice of collapse. If you elect Hillary Clinton as president and she serves for 8 years, the nation will not survive. I'm telling you this. Please believe me. The nation will not survive. I'm telling you right now, Texas will have, instead of having Brexit, British exit from the EU, we'll have Texit. Texas will exit the Union and become a sovereign, independent nation again. I'm telling you that's going to happen. Please don't elect Mrs. Clinton. Neustadt, in his prescription, if you will, it is for the president to use the powers of his office assertively. As a former naval aviator and an attack pilot who used to fly off aircraft carriers, I use the term aggressively. That may be too much for people to grasp. So in this script, I use the term assertively. But use those powers assertively, build and maintain public support, a requisite amount of public support, based on the right principles. Now, you got a president right now that's got public support based on the wrong principles, folks, based on 180 degrees out, the exact opposite of what this nation was founded on. And he's got support for people, I call them, and so does Lou, unwitting accomplices to treason and the destruction of this country. They know not what they do.
Well,
people.
You call them that. And
what do you call them?
I call them. I think they know exactly what they're doing in most cases.
Not everybody. I say there's
in most cases, not in all, but in most cases, yeah. I think they know exactly what they're doing, and I think that they're fine with it.
So you're going to say we have both witting and unwitting accomplices to the dissolution of this country and treason. I believe you're exactly right. Exactly right. The president also has to establish a reputation, if you will, among fellow policymakers, hopefully a good reputation among those fellow policymakers, that he is a skilled and determined political operator. If there was ever a reason to doubt Neustadt's diagnosis, I believe it was eliminated by the presidential experience of your fellow Georgian, Jimmy Carter. Vision. Vision is a term, if you will, with a variety of meanings. One of those meanings is the capacity to inspire others, sort of a broad meaning. And the narrower meaning, vision refers to preoccupation with the content of public policies, an ability to assess their feasibility, and the possession of a set of, overarching goals. But vision also encompasses consistency of viewpoint. And presidents who stand firm are able to set the terms of public policy discourse. Your current chief executive told Assad in Syria, here's the line of demarcation. If you do this, that's the end of it. And of course, he sets those goalposts, and then it gets crossed, and he repositions those goalposts over and over and over. His reputation with the professional politicians and the bureaucrats in Washington is probably the worst of any president ever. And the same thing with our allies and our enemies. Our allies don't stand with us. They can't trust us. And our enemies do not fear us any longer because they know that President Obama will change from day to day to day. And that really bothers me as a former warrior and as a political scientist. You cannot trust this guy, and he will change with the wind. You know who else is just exactly like that?
Hillary Clinton.
Mrs. Clinton. Yeah, don't call her Hillary. She's Mrs. Clinton.
Mrs. Clinton. Yeah, that's actually a little more respect than I'd like to give her.
Well, I give Stacey Lennox respect because I call her Miss Stacey. And that's a Southern thing, people, if you don't know that.
It is a Southern thing.
It is.
Are
we ever going to get together again and have lunch and have some of that really great pimento dip that we had 2 rounds of there at the Freight and Tap there in, I think it was Woodstock, Georgia?
Absolutely.
I want to do that again.
Absolutely. It's coming up. It'll be soon.
You know what? I was sitting there waiting for you guys at the Freight and Tap cafe there in Woodstock, and I asked the guy, what is Woodstock famous for? He said, absolutely nothing. It's like, oh my gosh. But it is kind of a cute little town, and the experience we had there at that little cafe was just delightful and something I want to revisit.
It's actually famous for its golf course.
Really? I didn't know that. I should go up there and play.
At Eagle Ridge. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go up there and play one of these days.
Yeah.
Hey, in my model that we were talking about the 6 variables, here's the 5th variable. It is what I call cognitive style. The cognitive style with which the president processes the huge amount of information and advice that comes his way. As you might expect, presidents vary widely in their cognitive styles. For instance, Jimmy Carter, Naval Academy graduate and nuclear power submarine man, Jimmy Carter had an engineer's proclivity to reduce issues to what he perceived to be their component parts. This cognitive style contrasts with the kind of strategic intelligence, I call it strategic intelligence, that allows the chief executive to cut to the heart of a problem. As such, Carter's administration, in my humble opinion, lacked a sense of direction. Now, the last quality of effective presidential performance and leadership is what German sociologist Max Weber calls the firm taming of the soul. I have tried for the last year and a half to tame the soul of Wench and Miss Stacy and JD over several lunches. I have not been successful at taming their soul. Do you want to comment on that, Lou?
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck, dude.
Yeah, good luck with that. You wouldn't be the first.
I refer to the taming of the soul in this manner, emotional intelligence. This is the president's ability to successfully manage, properly manage his emotions and turn them to constructive purposes. Rather than being dominated by them and allowing them to diminish his leadership. Basically, the chief executive needs to be freed up of any distracting emotional undercurrents or perturbations that could lead him astray while in office. So that being the case, after we take this next break, which I think is coming up pretty soon, let's take a moment to use this model to examine the presidential performance of 2 of Lou Bell's favorite presidents, Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton. And I don't know if that's a good spot to take our break, or what do you want to do, Lou? It's up to you.
I think it's as good a spot as any. Like you said, we're right up against that time, so we'll be right back. Wake Up America Radio on WNJC is part of the Conservative Commando Radio Network.
Don't go forgetting me, baby, but I don't want to stick around. The world has been driving me crazy. Don't want to think of it meaning way too profound. A darkness abounds.
I don't think you want to be near me when the ship has run aground. The water is shallow and hazy. The storm is upon us. It's too late to turn around.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern for Game On. Remember,
lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of libertative conservatism.
Where no one is safe, no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right
Ebola
anyway.
radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com.
I've seen this happen before. There's a full moon out tonight. I'm a fool, but you can't fool me twice. I wear my secret deception just like a disguise. When I reveal myself in the light, said our goodbyes.
I knew that this wouldn't be easy.
Try not to tie it down.
No, nothing you say can appease me.
If you wanted to go, then you would have been gone before now. The darkness abounds.
All right, we're back, and as usual, while we were off the air there on our break, I was doing a little handling of Dr. Arrington, and we are going to finish this episode in part 2 next week, and we're going to talk about a little bit of news, because there's quite a bit this week, and there's been quite a bit over the past few weeks, and we haven't really talked about it, so we're going to do that now. Do you want to start with Brexit?
You know, in my humble opinion, Brexit is one of the most important votes, if you will, referendums that has taken place probably in modern history, and it's just huge. I'll give my opinion on that, and I want to hear what you have to say. I'm sure the listeners want to hear what Wench has to say on Brexit, and maybe they don't even know what Brexit is, but it's Britain deciding to leave. They had a referendum. They decided to leave the European Union and go back to being an individual nation with their individual freedom and national sovereignty intact. What are your thoughts on that, Lou?
I think that it what the EU started as and what it evolved into are two completely different things. And through the years, it's been a slow creep of centralized control, as you know. So, and in the beginning, when they were first starting to set it up, and through the years, I remember that there were lots of conversations about the level of control, and a lot of people who believed that it would end up exactly where it is now with this centralized political control. And the rules that they have around things that were never really considered or debated in the beginning when the EU was set up, like immigration and movement of people, a completely open movement of people, which is great if you're traveling in Europe, but if you live in Europe, it's not always so great. So, it's been this slow creep, and they've completely ceded a lot of their sovereignty over to the EU, and I understand where a citizen of an EU country might say, wait a minute, we have no control. My vote doesn't matter. My MP, my member of parliament, does not matter because they're not a member of the EU Parliament. They're not a member of the centralized government that's making all the rules that we don't have a choice whether we go along with them or not. So,
what do you think of the United Nations? I know what I think. I want to hear what you think of the United Nations, which is very, similar to the EU when you really get down to it.
Yeah, they do. I think it's just a larger EU. There's far more countries. I guess what is it, 189 or 190? That there's like maybe 2 countries in the world that aren't member states of the UN. I forget, and it's kind of hard to keep up with sometimes because things change. But it's a larger body. There's not as much teeth to the UN as there is to the EU right now. However, there's this G72 body that is a really a special interest group within the UN, but controls all of the votes in the General Assembly. So, since while in concept it might have been a good idea, and in the beginning might have actually done some decent things right after World War II. Once the G72 stood up, it is a total third world country control of the UN.
Dr. A's opinion on the UN is the most useless and divisive international organization on the planet. I shouldn't say it. She doesn't like it when I tease her about Trump, so I'm not going to do it. Donald Trump has said that he thinks we should dissolve NATO. the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And I know Hammy doesn't agree with that, but here's my question to Hammy, if he's listening, for fellow naval aviator that he is. If a NATO country was attacked by Putin and Russia, we are obligated to send our forces to help that country. Do you think that Barack Hussein Obama would send American troops to defend that country based on the NATO treaty? What do you think? What do you think, Lou?
I don't know. Ask me the question again. Make sure I got what you're getting at.
According to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, if one of the NATO countries is attacked by an enemy, let's say Russia, okay, American president and our Congress, based on that treaty, are required to send our arms, our treasure, and our young men and women in uniform to defend that country against that assault from the enemy. Do you think if Putin attacked one of the NATO allies, your president right now would send our troops in to defend that country?
I think he'd find 6 ways to Sunday not to.
Yeah,
and I think that would be a violation of the terms of the treaty. But I don't think that he would have any
qualms. Why don't we just get out of NATO like Trump says? Or renegotiate another treaty. Just get out of NATO.
Don't even get me started on that. He would.
I'm trying to get you started.
He has this, and this is where I go, okay, there's absolutely no difference between Trump and Bernie Sanders or Trump and Obama. And I don't even know that Hillary Clinton is this stupid, right? So, I don't think she is, and I don't think she's dumb enough to say it, even if she believes it and wants to do it. But Trump has actually outlined a plan to dismantle every international forces treaty that is on the books. CETO, NATO, important treaties that have kept us safe through the Cold War into today. It's insane.
Similar to the EU, Britain was paying the lion's share of the subsidies that went into that. And they got basically the people said, we're tired of this. We pay, the United States of American citizens, our taxpayer dollars, pay the lion's share of the money that goes into the United Nations. And it's basically a United States bashing organization. It is a farce. Send all those people somewhere else. Create the United Nations home headquarters somewhere else, maybe in Switzerland, wherever, and take that UN building back and give it to the veterans, whatever. So somebody that will do some good. Get rid of those people. It is a joke, people. Trust me. We don't need the United Nations to be in the United States of America. We don't really need the United Nations at all. There's no country on this earth that could defeat the United States if during that campaign, war, military conflict, police action, whatever you want to call it, if we brought to bear all of our arsenal, nobody can defeat us. That's the problem.
Yeah, and the caveats there. Yeah, the caveats there, I think, are if we have a strong commander-in-chief, if they're taking good care of our military and their equipment, which is in question right now, whether they're even caring for the equipment, the planes, what they left behind in Iraq when they bailed on Iraq, my opinion is it made an impact on our infrastructure, our military infrastructure.
And I never know why we do that. We did that during World War II in Vietnam. I don't know why we leave our stuff behind.
Well, I think if it's antiquated, it costs money
to bring it back, but let's bring it back. That's our stuff.
If it's antiquated, right? Exactly. If it's antiquated, then that's fine. Leave it behind. If there's a friendly force there that can use it, that you want to transfer it to, then that's fine. But know that they're friendly, know that they're strong, and know that they're going to use it appropriately and not turn it over. We got to realize we're talking about the Iraqi military. We've known since late 80s, early 90s, what they do when they're confronted with a strong force. They bail, they run.
Yes.
And there's reasons for that, and we knew that. It's not like we don't have the intelligence to know that. So leaving that equipment behind in Iraq was stupid.
Well, that depends on the perspective from which you judge stupidity. If you judge it from the normal founding fathers' perspective, you betcha. If you judge it from Barack Hussein Obama's perspective, as a globalist Islamo-communist, and Mrs. Clinton as a communist, it's perfect because you want to foment revolution and discord and chaos because out of chaos, they believe that they will emerge at the top of the food chain as the apex predators, if you will, and everybody, they're the masters.
And I think they're going to be
mistaken.
I think they're quite mistaken about that, because
of course.
in the end, are they going to look at Hillary Clinton and all the skeletons in her closet, and exalt her as someone who they want to be their leader? Absolutely not. Barack Obama and the skeletons in his closet, and the things that people either know, say, or think about him. Are they going to exalt him? And both of them, remember, both of them claim to be Christians. So if the end goal is this Islamic communist caliphate, neither one of them are going to make it. They're both going to get hung or thrown off the top of a building. So
you're
they're mistaken.
You're trying to make me give up my breakfast. I cannot look at Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry. And Hillary Clinton is an atheist communist, and Mr. Obama is an Islamo communist.
But they
claim
publicly to be Christians, and in the end, if that's where they're going and that's where they want to get to, neither one of them is going to be in power. They're both going to get thrown off a building.
They say whatever they think needs to be said and heard by enough dummies.
I realize
in the
that,
masses.
but they've put it out there. The caliphate is not going to want them. They're kafir, like the rest of us.
Exactly. You know, this Brexit is going to be huge. The reverberations will be felt all around the world. I argue that individual freedom, free market capitalism, and national sovereignty has defeated the progressive globalists. Now, when I say progressive globalists, you can think communists, you can think Islamists, you can think Nazis, whatever you want to think. That's what has been defeated here. Totalitarian ideology in its infancy has been defeated there in the EU by those brave 52%, or not quite 52% of the people voting in Great Britain. And bless their hearts. And every poll said it wasn't going to happen. Don't believe the polls. What's her name? Cowboy Boots. Miss Cowboy Boots talks about, well, now Mrs. Clinton is up 14 points nationally. It's all crap. Don't believe those polls. They have absolutely no validity, people.
What is my mantra about polls? Polls or paychecks? What is my mantra about polls? Polls or paychecks for
Exactly.
Paychecks for pollsters. That's it.
Exactly. And you know, you can manipulate statistics into getting any result that you desire as the statistician or as the researcher. I've done it. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, but the truth is what's important. Speak the truth, endure the consequences. That's what we have been teaching everybody for the last year or so that we've been doing this together. Speak the truth, endure the consequences, people. And if you do that, you might have some Twitter trolls coming at you, but that just means you've ascended to the top of that Twitter chain, because you have all these people that are creating parody accounts or going after you vehemently because you're speaking the truth. When you speak the truth, if somebody's power is based on lies, fraud, and deception, they have to call you a lunatic, insane. That's why I titled my latest book, Politics in America, Lecture Notes of a Lunatic Professor, because that's what they call me when I speak the truth. I reached out to Mrs. Clinton today, and I sent her a tweet. Is that what you call them, tweets?
Yeah.
And I'm sure she hates my guts, but that's okay. I'm telling you the truth, ma'am. I'm telling you the truth, and I'm going to endure the consequences. You do it. You know what? Wench does the exact same thing, and she endures some of the most vitriolic Twitter trolls I've ever seen, as does Miss Stacy. And every now and then when I see it, I try to come to their defense, and it usually means that they then start coming at me, but that's why I call her a wench. She doesn't take crap from anybody, and she's got her hands, her fingers in many, many different pies that relate to American democracy. We don't really have a democracy. What we got is a constitutional republic based on democratic federalist principles. That's what we have. And she's got her finger on the pulse of that, and she's telling the truth. And people reach out because she challenges them and try to hurt her, and hurt her a lot. So you guys need to realize that Lou is on your side. The wench is fighting for you every single day.
And
I know that. And
that's
Miss
the same
Stacy
with
knows
you,
that.
Dr. A. You do the same, and people do the same thing to you. But you know what? I learned from our founding fathers and my ancestors is the more people try to hurt you, the more more impact you're making. Because if you weren't making an impact, they wouldn't care.
Exactly. You wouldn't be challenging their position, challenging their authority or their power.
That's right.
So
you're doing
like
something right.
A little insect. You're like a little flea, you know.
Yeah, I am. I'm a flea.
No, not you. No. Some of these other ones. But, you know, we talk about that. These people that are making all this noise, I go back to a quote by Edmund Burke. He called them the little, shriveled, meager, hopping, though loud and troublesome, insects of the hour. And I added Dr. A's analysis. These insects of the hour usually get squashed by patriots. And the patriots in Edmund Burke's mind were those those cows out there in the field chewing their cud daily, doing the job daily to protect the country, the longevity of the nation that they're in, and their individual freedom. While the insects of the hour are the ones that are chirping, trying to get, be the squeaky wheel getting the oil. And unfortunately, some of these politicians like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bernie, Alan Grayson, they and their power are based on catering to these insects of the hour because they know that they're ignorant. But they know that anything they say that seems to further their positions as the insects of the hour will get them the requisite amount of votes and the amount of money they need to raise for their campaigns to keep them in power inside the Beltway. Yep. And that's a big problem in the United States. I told you, James Madison was wrong. Bless his heart. He said we don't have to, in Federal 51, he said, and number 10, we don't have to worry about this new federal government because we are going to elect the best and brightest from among our population. Well, you know what, folks? Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Alan Grayson aren't the best and brightest. Madison was wrong about that one particular thing in our political arena.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm afraid that we have to go, Doc. We're out of time.
Let freedom ring. God help us, people.
God help us. Catch us on WNJC Super 1360 out of Philadelphia, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. in K98 at k98talk.org, 8 p.m. on Thursday nights just before JD and Stacy. And we'll see you next week. Have a good week.
Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something to say.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.